All right, let me start with something that's probably going to feel a little uncomfortable. You work hard, you make decent money. On paper, you're doing fine, but your garage is full. Your apartment feels cluttered. Your phone bill is higher than it was 2 years ago. Your car payment feels heavier every month. And somehow, despite owning more than you ever have before, you feel more financially stressed than ever. And you can't quite explain why. Because you did what you were told. You upgraded. You bought quality. You treated yourself. You invested in your lifestyle. And yet, your money feels tighter than when you owned less. Here's the thing. Owning stuff used to be a sign of success. Today, it's quietly becoming the fastest path to financial pressure. My name is Jimmy, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, psychology, and the dumb financial traps that normal people fall into without realizing it. And if you're someone who feels like you're making money but never quite getting ahead, like your lifestyle is always one step ahead of your income, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up because this one might change how you look at everything you own. Now look, I'm not here to tell you to live like a monk. I'm not anti-stuff. I'm not saying never buy anything nice. But here's what most people don't realize. We crossed a line sometime in the last 20 or 30 years where owning stuff stopped being neutral and started becoming actively expensive in ways most people never calculate. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's talk about what stuff actually costs now. Because when most people think about buying something, they think about the price tag. That's it. They see a $40,000 car, a $1,200 phone, a $3,000 couch, a $250 pair of headphones. They think, can I afford this right now? But that's the wrong question, because ownership today isn't about buying something once. It's about subscribing to the responsibility of that thing. Forever. Here's a stat that blew my mind the first time I saw it. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American household spends over $18,000 per year just on transportation and housing-related costs. And that doesn't even include food, entertainment, or savings. And a massive chunk of that isn't consumption. It's maintenance, insurance, repairs, upgrades, interest, storage, subscriptions. Stuff doesn't just sit there. Stuff leaks money. Think about a car. You don't buy a $40,000 car. You buy a $40,000 entry fee into a system that charges you every single month for the privilege of owning it. Car payment, insurance, gas, maintenance, tires, registration, depreciation. AAA estimates the true annual cost of owning a new vehicle is over $12,000 per year. That's not luxury. That's average. Now multiply that logic across everything you own. Your phone, monthly plan, upgrade cycle, accessories, insurance, your house, mortgage, property tax, repairs, furniture, renovations, utilities, your nice lifestyle, dry cleaning, subscriptions, storage, replacement costs. Here's what most people don't realize. Stuff used to be durable. Now it's designed to expire. This is where it gets interesting. Back in the 1950s and 60s, appliances were built to last decades. Cars were simpler. Electronics barely existed. Clothing was repaired, not replaced. Today, everything has a life cycle, and that life cycle is shorter than your memory. Phones are designed to feel old in 24 months. Cars are software platforms on wheels. Furniture is cheaper, trendier, and disposable. Even houses require constant upgrades just to feel normal. You're not failing at money. The system changed. And psychologically, this matters more than people realize. Because owning stuff creates what psychologists call cognitive load. Every object you own takes up mental space. You worry about it breaking. You worry about it losing value. You worry about replacing it. You worry about insuring it. You worry about upgrading it. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that people with more possessions experience higher baseline stress levels, even when their income is higher. Why? Because ownership creates obligation. Stuff doesn't free you. It anchors you. Now you might be thinking, okay, Jimmy, but owning stuff is normal. Everyone does this. Exactly. And that's why it's so dangerous. Because the trap feels normal. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two people making the same income, $80,000 per year. Person A lives in a smaller place, drives a paid-off used car, and owns fewer things. Person B upgrades everything. Nicer apartment, new car, latest tech. On paper, they're equals. But here's the math nobody talks about. Person B might be spending an extra $1,500 to $2,000 per month just maintaining their stuff. That's $18,000 to $24,000 per year. Invested at a modest 7% over 20 years, that difference becomes well over $700,000. Same income, different ownership decisions, wildly different futures. And here's the psychological twist. Person B feels successful. Person A feels behind. Because society rewards visible ownership, not invisible freedom. Now look, this is where most financial advice goes wrong. It tells people to budget harder, track expenses, cut coffee. But the real problem isn't small spending, it's structural ownership. You don't feel broke because of lattes. You feel broke because your money is already spoken for before you even earn it. Your future income is pre-committed to maintaining your past decisions. That's the trap. Stuff turns future flexibility into fixed costs. And fixed costs are financial gravity. Once they're there, every decision becomes harder. You can't take risks. You can't pivot careers. You can't save aggressively. You can't breathe. And here's what most people don't realize until it's too late. The more stuff you own, the harder it is to downshift. Because selling stuff feels like failure. Psychologically, we anchor our identity to our possessions. This is my car. This is my house. This is my lifestyle. Letting go feels like going backwards, even if it moves you forward financially. This is why minimalism exploded after the 2008 financial crisis. Not because people suddenly loved empty rooms, but because people realized their stuff owned them. Now let's talk about the biggest myth of all, the idea that ownership equals security. Because this one is deeply embedded. People say things like, "At least I own something." But here's the thing. Ownership doesn't equal control. Liquidity equals control. Flexibility equals control. Options equal control. A house you can't afford to maintain isn't security. A car payment you can't escape isn't security. A lifestyle you can't downsize without pain isn't security. That's fragility. And this is where the math gets brutal. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. Yet most of those people own plenty of stuff. That should terrify you, because it means ownership didn't protect them. It trapped them. Now you might be thinking, so what? I should just own nothing? No, that's not the point. The point is intentional ownership, stuff that pays you back in some way, either financially or emotionally, or through time saved. Everything else is a liability pretending to be a reward. Here's a simple mental shift that changes everything. Stop asking, "Can I afford this?" Start asking, "What will this cost me every month, every year, and in flexibility?" A $900 couch that lasts 5 years costs $15 a month. A $3,000 couch that needs replacing in 3 years costs $83 a month. Same category, different burden. A $25,000 paid-off car costs you maintenance and insurance. A $50,000 financed car costs you sleep. And this applies to digital stuff too. Subscriptions are just invisible stuff. According to C+R research, the average American spends over $200 per month on subscriptions, most of which they underestimate by nearly 100%. That's not convenience, that's slow leakage. And psychologically, subscriptions are dangerous because they don't feel like ownership decisions. They feel harmless. Until they stack. Now here's the part nobody tells you. Owning less doesn't just free money. It frees attention. It lowers stress. It increases optionality. People who reduce fixed costs report higher life satisfaction even when income stays the same. Because financial peace isn't about abundance. It's about margin. Margin is the space between what you earn and what you owe. Stuff eats margin. Now look, this isn't about guilt. This isn't about shame. This is about awareness. Because once you understand this, you can use it to your advantage. Here are 3 simple shifts that change the game. First, audit ownership, not spending. List everything you own that creates recurring costs. Cars, subscriptions, devices, storage, maintenance-heavy items. Ask yourself, if I didn't own this, what would my life actually lose? Be honest. Second, prioritize assets that reduce future expenses. A reliable used car beats a flashy new one. Quality tools beat disposable replacements. Learning skills beats upgrading aesthetics. Third, Buy time, not things. Anything that saves you time without locking you into payments is usually worth more than something that just looks good. And here's the final thing I want you to remember. We're living in a world where freedom is invisible and debt is normalized, where success is measured by what you can show, not what you can walk away from. But real wealth isn't about accumulation. It's about autonomy. It's about being able to say no, to slow down, to pivot, to breathe. And the less stuff you own that demands your money every month, the more of that autonomy you get back. Owning stuff isn't bad. Unexamined ownership is. And once you start seeing your possessions for what they really cost, not just in dollars, but in stress, flexibility, and future freedom, you stop asking how to earn more and start asking how to need less. And that's where everything changes. That's it. Thank you. See you next time.